Imagine boarding a flight, expecting a routine journey, then suddenly a disaster strikes. From terrifying mid-air explosions to planes crashing to the ground, some of the most shocking crashes have been caught on camera, leaving the world in disbelief. These heart-stopping moments remind us of the sheer unpredictability of air travel. In this video, we will take a deep dive into real-life aviation disasters captured in shocking detail. Number 10. On Friday, the 24th of June, 1994, a United States Air Force Boeing B-52 Stratofortress crashed at Fairchild Air Force Base. After its pilot, Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Holland, maneuvered the bomber beyond its operational limits and lost control. The aircraft stalled, fell to the ground and exploded, killing Holland and the other 3 crew aboard. The subsequent investigation concluded that the crash was attributable to 3 factors: Holland's personality and behavior, USAF leaders' delayed or inadequate reactions to earlier incidents involving Holland, and the sequence of events during the aircraft's final flight. The crash is now used in military and civilian aviation environments as a case study in teaching crew resource management. Number 9. Delta Connection Flight 4819 was a scheduled international passenger flight from Minneapolis to Toronto that crashed upon landing on February 17, 2025. The preliminary investigation determined that the aircraft experienced a hard landing that caused a landing gear component to fracture, leading to its collapse and the plane overturning on the runway. The flight had 80 people on board, 76 passengers and 4 crew members. While all occupants survived, 21 sustained injuries. Number 8. Tragedy struck the West Coast Air Show in Saldana on the 22nd of March, 2025 when an Impala jet crashed and burst into flames before more than 2,000 spectators, abruptly ending the event. Despite the aircraft appearing stable through most of the performance, a sudden loss of altitude during the final maneuver led to a devastating crash. James Connell went into the configuration, he rolled the aircraft and was in a serious deep dive and went straight into the ground. There was no sign of any attempt to eject. According to the sources, the pilot died on impact. Number 7. On the 29th of April, 2013, a Boeing 747 being operated by National Airlines as on a cargo flight from Bagram Air Base, Afghanistan to Dubai World Central was observed to suddenly pitch up to an abnormal attitude almost immediately after a daylight takeoff from Bagram in VMC. It then began to descend and recovery was not achieved. All 7 crew members were killed and the aircraft destroyed in the subsequent impact with terrain and the post-crash fire which followed. Number 6. On the 24th of July, 1993, 2 MiG-29s took off together to perform at the RAF Fairford. The display went smoothly until the final maneuver. Both jets began simultaneous loops from a long line astern, preparing to break off for landing. The lead aircraft pulled up first and completed a normal loop, entering a cloud at the top. Meanwhile, the second pilot started his loop a bit earlier and flew a slightly tighter path. Because of the tighter loop, the lead jet ended up lower and further ahead than expected. When the lead pilot initiated his turn to exit the flight path, his left wing struck the fuselage of the second aircraft. Both jets immediately became uncontrollable, but fortunately, both pilots ejected safely and were uninjured. Number 5. Azerbaijan Airlines Flight 8243 was a scheduled international passenger flight from Baku to Grozny. On the 25th of December, 2024, the Embraer 190 operating the Azerbaijan Airlines flight was severely damaged by external objects penetrating the structure, widely believed to be a Russian surface-to-air missile, during the aircraft's approach to Grozny. The aircraft attempted to divert but its hydraulic system failed, leading to a loss of control and ultimately a crash near Aktau International Airport in Kazakhstan, with 62 passengers and 5 crew on board. Of those 67 people, 38 died in the accident, including both of the pilots and a flight attendant, while 29 people survived with injuries. Number 4. TransAsia Airways Flight 235 was a domestic flight from Taipei to Kinmen. On the 4th of February, 2015, the aircraft serving the flight crashed into the Keelung River around 5 kilometers from Taipei Songshan Airport from where the aircraft had just departed from. On board were 58 people, 15 of whom survived with injuries. 2 minutes after takeoff, the pilots reported an engine failure. After climbing to a height of 1,630 feet, the other engine, still operating normally, was mistakenly shut down. The aircraft lost altitude, banked sharply to the left and clipped a taxi traveling west on the Huandong Viaduct, causing injuries to 2 more persons, then the viaduct itself, before crashing into the river below. Number 3. The Ramstein airshow disaster occurred on Sunday, the 28th of August, 1988 during the Flugtag 88 airshow at USAF Ramstein Air Base. 10 jets from the Italian Air Force display team were performing their pierced heart formation. In this formation, two groups of aircraft trace out a heart shape in front of the audience along the runway. As they reach the lower tip of the heart, the two groups pass each other parallel to the runway. The heart is then pierced by a lone aircraft, flying in the direction of spectators. The mid-air collision took place as the two heart-forming groups passed each other and the heart-piercing aircraft hit them. One of the pilots finished the maneuver too early. 3 aircraft of the Italian Air Force display team collided during their display, crashing to the ground in front of a crowd of about 300,000 people. There were 70 fatalities, and 346 spectators sustained serious injuries in the resulting explosion and fire. Number 2. Jeju Air Flight 2216 was a scheduled flight from Suvarnabhumi Airport near Bangkok to Muan International Airport, South Korea. On the 29th of December, 2024, the Boeing 737 operating the flight was approaching Muan when a bird strike occurred. The pilots issued a Mayday alert, performed a go-around, and on the second landing attempt, the landing gear did not deploy and the airplane belly landed well beyond the normal touchdown zone. It overran the runway, colliding with the approach lighting system and crashing into a berm encasing a concrete structure that supported an antenna array for the instrument landing system. The collision killed all 175 passengers and 4 of 6 crew members. Number 1. Vopass Flight 2283 was a scheduled domestic Brazilian passenger flight from Cascavel to Garelhos. On the 9th of August, 2024, the plane serving the flight crashed in Vinhedo, São Paulo state. The aircraft was flying at an altitude of 5,200 meters prior to stalling and entering a flat spin with a rapid descent. All 62 people on board died. The crash was the deadliest aviation accident in Brazil since TM Airlines Flight 3054 in July 2007. In the initial aftermath of the accident, aviation experts speculated that ice buildup could have been a factor. Both flight recorders were recovered and analyzed by Brazilian Aeronautical Accidents Investigation and Prevention Center, who issued a preliminary report confirming the pilots faced difficulties with icing buildup and de-icing attempts.